Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Eccentric Mind Podcast with George Hernandez. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. This morning, I was going back and reviewing all of my voice memos. I have over, I want to say 350. Typically, I have these mini podcasts with myself when I'm in the car, when I'm taking walks, when I'm sitting alone, when I'm at work. I have all of these sort of ideas that just spiral and grow into other things. And I stumbled upon one where I was in Los Angeles. It was a period of time where I went to a movie studio internship, quit my 9-to-5 job, and was building a business on the side while going to Los Angeles 2 times out of the week, hitting the gym 6 times a week, bulking, and waking up really early in the morning to do all of my stuff. And my biggest dream from the age of 17, honestly up to now still, is to be a filmmaker and to make a movie. You know, be able to make my own movie. It comes a lot from being able to express myself in a creative light, you know, show all parts of myself. But then in the process of doing that, other people can resonate with it and also just have a sense of clarity, an idea of what it was that I had to deal with, but also coming from a creative place that expresses me. So that's where it always typically came from. And that is the reason why I pursued the internship so hard and why I wanted to do it and why I was so willing to take the risk to quit my job and to go to Los Angeles. And this voice memo was so interesting. I really recommend you do voice memos in any particular area of your life. If you have an idea, talk about it. If you have a memory that you don't want to forget, talk about it. If there's something that cannot get out of your head, talk about it. And one day you can reflect and go back and, I remember that period of time. And I literally transported myself to that area when I was just 21 years old in Los Angeles, terrified, petrified, unable to comprehend the things that were coming my way and how I was able to leap over them. And, you know, this kid, 21-year-old George, says something very insightful to me. And it was because I would say I had someone who, in Los Angeles, I would call a mentor, even though we barely did speak. But when we did speak, it was nothing but sheer wisdom coming out of his mouth. And he said something that sticks with me to this day and something I think about often. And I'll give you a little bit of background. He came from New Orleans and then he came to Los Angeles. He made a big move. He decided to go all in. And even though he was typically in the same position as myself, he had the same internal dialogue. He had the same sort of pressure to make it. He took the big risk, and now he had this internal dialogue that he had to deal with, but he was able to calm it down with this particular thought that just stuck with me, and I said about it, and I talked about it in the voice memo. And it's, even though internally I'm going through the most chaos, even though internally I am terrified and petrified, because I have no idea what's going to come next. I have no idea the challenges that I'm going to face physically. It's all uncertain. However, being embraced in uncertainty by pushing myself to put my ass where my heart wants to be, that brings me the most clarity because I'm doing the thing. I'm pushing for what I want most. And I'm literally embedded in the position that can get me to where I want to go most. And even though I am uncertain, even though I'm petrified and terrified of what's potentially going to happen to me, what challenges I'm going to face, what's going to come my way, I am at pure peace, pure bliss, because the thing I want most comes from the most uncertain aspect of my life. Comes after the petrified, after being terrified, after being so uncertain that you don't want to go, but you decide to go anyway. And that brought me a lot of clarity, because here I was, a kid from Reno Valley, where if you look around in this area, there's not many areas that, or people that are interested in the type of things that I'm interested in. So it's a risk going all the way to Los Angeles every week, having to get my ass where my heart wants to be. But in the process of doing it, I have no idea how Los Angeles is. I'm a small town kid, born and raised here, never really dealing with the hardships of life or the reality of life, just so comfortable in my own skin. But because I've now grown this sort of ambitious sort of mind, here I go on a train every Tuesday, Thursday, riding my way to LA Union Station so that way I can get closer to my dream. And that in and of itself, even though I had the body, even though I was building up the mindset, at that time I was terrified. At that time I was uncertain. At that time I just didn't know how to comprehend the challenges that I was dealing and facing with at the time. I didn't know how to understand the internal chatter that was going on, the self-doubt. But I was so self-righteous that I was capable of pushing through the noise and being able to do it anyway. And that always helps me out, man, is that I think pushing for something, going after something, pushing for a particular endeavor and suffering on your way towards it is how it's meant to be. And if you can find clarity on the fact that you're suffering towards something, then that can bring you real peace, because the suffering is worth it. The suffering is for a purpose. And if you can suffer your way towards what you want most, then there's nothing that's more rewarding on the outcome of it. And that always brought me peace. That always brought me clarity. I can't remember precisely his words, but he says, I feel at the most peace even though I'm at my most worried, even though I'm at my most anxious, even though I'm at my most chaos internally. Because this is what we have to get through in order to get to where we want to go most. This is the process. And on the outskirts, on the other side, is what we want most. And that always brought me clarity. That always brought me peace. So if you're struggling or suffering, what is the purpose of your suffering? And I think that can really drive peace, because if you're suffering and it's for a particular purpose and you're mulling your way towards it closer day in and day out, and you still have to deal with the hardships, you still have to deal with these internal chatter, this dialogue, this self-doubt, it is for a purpose. This is what you have to get through. And that, in and of itself, the fact that you are suffering on your way towards something, that drives the peace. That brings the peace, because it's not for nothing. You know, the suffering, the hardship, the inner chatter, the dialogue that's going on in your head, even though you're particularly at your most chaotic, it's for a particular purpose. And that is where the peace drives in. And that's where I got my own peace from, is the fact that I was pushing for my dream. I was pushing for everything I wanted. And so being embedded in the chaos, being embedded in the struggle, was the most clarity that I've ever had, because this is just step one to getting to where I want to go most, which leads to step 2 and step 3 and step 4 and step 5. This is just step 1, because this day I may be struggling, but tomorrow I might be a little less anxious, a little less stress. And yeah, I'll just play it because it's cool hearing your younger self talk about these challenges, and now being a bit older, being a bit wiser, you can clearly see the caveats that your younger self wasn't seeing, and now you have a full picture and a full scope of what potentially down the line you can not do. And that's why I'm just trying to help, man. That's really what the point of this is that throughout my process of trying to build something, trying to attain something, trying to get the job, trying to get the money, trying to get the business, trying to get the body, the most clarity I got wasn't from the tips, the tricks, and the hacks. It was from hearing somebody else go through the process and them being able to overcome it and get what they want most. Or them being able to talk about their internal chatter that they had while in the process of going to get what they want most. And if you can clearly define it, because you have depths, you have so much time embedded in this process, you know it so utterly well that if you can express that to other individuals who really can't comprehend the struggles that they're facing in the process of going to what they want to get most, in one of, if not the hardest challenges that you have to do, because it is clearly uncertain. You have no idea what you're doing. You're taking steps that it's vague. You have no idea where you're going to go. And so each step you take is just uncertain. But if you can just articulate yourself, this is talking about me, if I can articulate myself in the depths and just the labyrinth of information that I've gotten over these years, being embedded in the process, if I could just help one person understand what challenge they're facing and what they need to overcome and what they can do and how I dealt with it, then that's just what I want to do most, man. Now, here it is. Also, I was driving in my car, I think, so that's why it sounds like garbage.
I don't know where the fuck I'm going. I don't know how I'm gonna get there. I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm fucking terrified. I am so fucking scared every single day. Right when I get there, right when I arrive to LA Union Station, I have a pit in my stomach at how fucking terrified I am. I'm scared doing this shit, man. Every day. But God, do I feel fucking amazing. I feel so good and so at peace inside. Like I've never felt so much better in my life. Deeply inside. And that's fucking ridiculous that how it has to be that way. I guess to balance itself out. But I don't know how I'm gonna get it. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna fucking get there though, because I feel great right now, but Jesus, if I get to where I need to be, if I get that, I can't even imagine the sensation.
Yeah. I call that one terrified but alive. It makes sense, you know? In order to get what you want most, you can't obtain satisfaction in order to get there. You need to obtain something else in order to get closer. Because if you were to just obtain so much satisfaction and gratification in the process of doing it, then the gratification that you get at the end of it isn't going to be as fulfilling. But if you suffer on your way towards it, you can have peace of mind knowing that you're suffering for a purpose. And at the end of it, you can find and get what you want most. And so it's kind of balances itself out. But yeah, that was something, huh? So this has been the Eccentric Mind Podcast. I hope you get something out of that. I hope you got at least one thing out of it. There's this idea by Tim Ferriss, and he says the good shit sticks. So if there was just one little tidbit, one word, one sentence, one paragraph, one thing that I said in the way that I said it, take it with you and use it take it with you and just think about it. And then you'll find your answer, I hope. But anyway, that concludes this episode. This has been the Eccentric Mind Podcast with George Hernandez, and I hope you have a fantastic day.